So, Thabo Mbeki made a speech somewhere. I found this on TikTok. I'm going to try to link it on the description below, where he attempts to tell South Africans that the first 15 years of democracy was this resounding success, and he denies that his presidential term was jobless growth, as economists have often stated. And he cites that between 1994 and 2008, the South African economy added 6 million jobs. And he imagines that his term and Mandela's term were a resounding success. And then he says from 2008 until now, there was a reversal of all of that success. And he said that the company developed at that time as well. And I wanted to respond to that. I was actually very upset with this because it felt to me that this guy is gaslighting South Africans. He is gaslighting South Africans. But I understand that people always have a desire to sanitize their records to make them seem that they are more successful than they were, just as Jacob Zuma is also trying to do that as well. Because he is often saying in speeches that people were blaming him whenever there were problems with the economy, saying that because he's uneducated, this is why the economy was bad. And I'm assuming that's what also Thabo Mbeki is trying to do in this speech that he made. I'm not even sure where the speech was made because I found this on TikTok and I can't really find a proper citation in terms of where it was done. But I just wanted to respond to some of the main things that Thabo Mbeki said on this speech. He's denying that when he was president, his term in office was jobless growth. There was a time that I think it was his second term where the economy was growing by 4%, which is the highest growth that the South African economy has seen since 1994. But it has always been criticized for growth without jobs, and he's denying that it was without jobs. But then let's look into this. Was it without jobs? Can these 6 million jobs created between 1994 and 2008 be attributable to growth? Let's have a look at it. In 1994, the South African economy had an unemployment rate of 22.9%. 22.9%. And in 1999, when Thabo Mbeki became president of South Africa, the unemployment rate was 22.79%. 22.79%. When he was kicked out by the ANC and forced to resign in 2008, the unemployment rate was 22.4%. 22.4%. So what does that tell us? It tells us that in 15 years, the unemployment rate in South Africa had not gone anywhere. Anywhere. But what can be said about the millions more that were working in 2008 than they were in 1994? That is called population growth. There were less people in South Africa in 1994 than they were in 2008. Just as there is more people in South Africa in 2025 than there were people in 2008. If you were going to look at absolute numbers, absolute terms, you will always find that there are more people working now than there were people working in 2008, even though the unemployment rate right now is higher. That is because of population growth. There's always going to be a marginal increase per year of people who are working. The thing that needs to be factored in is what percentage of the population is working as opposed to population that is not working. So when we compare that over the years, holding control population growth, what we see is that there was no growth at all in terms of jobs, because the unemployment rate is still at 22%. If jobs had been created, we would have seen the unemployment rate being lower than the 22% that it was when they got into office in 1994. So no, Mr. President, your economy was jobless. Your economy and Nelson Mandela's economy was jobless. Also, to take it further, is that the big difference between after 2008 and before 2008 is that in 2008, there was a global recession which decimated jobs all over the world. Then we saw an increase in unemployment in South Africa between 2008, 9, and 10, and 11. And because the ANC government was not doing anything about that, that unemployment continued to remain. This is to say, all of the ANC presidents, they've always just managed the economy. That's all they've done. They've never done anything at any given time to reduce unemployment, and that includes Mandela and Thabo Mbeki. There's not a single ANC president that has presided over a decline in unemployment. Not a single one of them. So for them, whatever the economy is at the time when they are in power, all they do is just manage. That's all they do. When the economy is good, they just manage. When the economy is bad, they just manage. They are not doing anything to actually direct the economy to go to where we need it to go, which is we need to reduce unemployment. And yes, true, unemployment went up, especially from around 2014, 2015, 2016. And there's also at the time when we started seeing the impact of load shedding affecting South Africa the most. But then I would say what Thabo Mbeki fails to realize is that bad policies tend to be cumulative. And we know that it is his administration that was responsible, number one, of refusing to maintain old power stations, and number two, refusing to build new power stations, even though they knew as far back as 1998 that they need to build new power stations. And they didn't do anything about it. So when we first started having load shedding in 2010, after Thabo Mbeki had left office, part of that, in fact, a big chunk of that responsibility fell on him. Because it was supposed to be him who was supposed to have started building power stations, maybe latest around 2004, 2005, so that by around 2010, some of those units are going online. So even if they're not going online in 2010, but they're going online in 2011, we would have actually saved time. But he didn't build the power stations that he was supposed to do. He didn't maintain the power stations that he was supposed to maintain, because they were trying to drive production with power stations that were not enough to produce the power demand that was required in South Africa. And so the subsequent job losses that were due to insufficient power and unstable power between 2015 to 2018 were directly tied to him. And because the ANC has never done anything to create jobs, even when those jobs were lost, at every level of unemployment, all they've done is just manage and just put their heads on the side and say, "Yup, they just say all kinds of meaningless platitudes, global economy, all this, that." They've never passed any policies to try to retard the negative direction in which the country was going into. Not him, not Mandela, not Jacob Zuma, not Motlanthe, and not Ramaphosa. So all of them are collectively responsible for this mess. He then further on stated that the country was developing between 1994 to 2008. And I also call bullshit on that. The country was not developing between 1994 and 2008. The only thing that they were doing were managing everything that was built by the white government before them. That's all they were doing. They were just managing stuff. And they managed most of it and they destroyed some of it. What did they build? The only thing that they did is maybe increase the electricity distribution to of the country to 90% of the households, and maybe build more um, RDP houses, which basically is social welfare. But what else? What sustainable thing do they do other than put almost everyone on social welfare? There's nothing. There's nothing that they did. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So this notion that the NC was doing a great job of developing the country between 1994 to 2008 is just, it's fiction. The only difference is that the shape of the economy at the time was in a better shape than it is now, and therefore they could actually get away with being incompetent because the economy was in a better shape. Because there are no active actions that they did put into place to actually actively direct industry, create jobs, um, build things that will last. No, they're not doing any of that. So he's basically gaslighting the country. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I say, for instance, that the Democratic Alliance is not suited to govern our country nationally. Because why? Because basically the Democratic Alliance would basically be Thabo Mbeki. Yep, that's what they would be. All they would be is just manage the economy. Let's just manage things. Let's just manage things. Oh, we are not corrupt. Oh, we are efficient. We are not doing. How are you going to create these millions of jobs that need to be created? By just like, no, we are just an administrative state. We are paying salaries on time. We're not corrupt. We are collecting garbage on time. We're not corrupt. Things are so bad that a government of that nature is not even close to being sufficient. That's exactly what we will get if the Democratic Alliance gets into power. You will get a Thabo Mbeki. Because a Thabo Mbeki and a Cyril Ramaphosa are basically the same thing. There's absolutely no difference at all. None of them have passed any expansionary policies or any sort of growth based policies. Their only claim to fame is that, no, we are not corrupt, like Jacob Zuma. We are not corrupt. That's not good enough. That's not even close to being good enough. Yeah, but I just wanted to respond to that where he's saying literally the unemployment rate in South Africa between 1994 and 2008 didn't go anywhere. 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 And the only time when the unemployment started going somewhere, which was people started losing jobs, is after the stock market crash of 2008, 2009. Other than that, anything that was happening in the economy was not happening because of the ANC. It was happening despite the ANC. What I'm saying, between 1994 2008, because there's nothing that they were doing to grow the economy. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Anyways.